We are down to the final day of competition here inside P&J Live in Aberdeen, Scotland, with just 2 events remaining in the 2024 Rogue Invitational. Event 8 is Tightrope, presented by Mod Tub. Thanks for being with us today, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland, alongside former Affiliate Cup winner Adrian Conway, and Kiki Dixon has us covered down on the competition floor. Well, as expected, Tia Toomey and Laura Horvath have turned P&J Live into their own personal battleground, but there is a fight for third place going on behind them that could get really interesting after this event. Yeah, it's really tightening up down there. Tia's got 4, Laura's got 3. This is the event that I think we can have one of our other women take hold of that #1 spot in the event. Well, while we were away, the 9th and final event was announced. This is happening later on this afternoon here in Aberdeen. A bunch of sandbag cleans. It's called the Excavator. There's a 7-minute time cap. We'll dive into that when we get set for that event in more detail, but that will be the 9th and final event that awaits these athletes later on. Well, let's get you set for event number 8. Overall standings coming in, as I mentioned, Tia Toomey and Laura Horvath. This is their own personal battle right now, as they have more than separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Gabby McGowan has withdrawn due to an injury, but still occupies 3rd place in the overall standings. That probably will not last after this event, as Alex Gazan looks to move into that spot. But only 50 points separate Gazan from Maddie Sturt in 8th place. Tightrope is event number 8. What we got, Adrian? Tightrope's going to be 3 rounds of 100 heavy rope double unders, 50-foot single-arm sear bell overhead lunge, and that's going to be with 70 pounds, and then they've got 100 feet of handstand walking. What are the keys here? Well, the keys are to understand that this is all shoulders. You know, each movement, each modality here is going to demand a significant amount of effort from the upper body. They did a lot of pulling and hanging on that last one, and now it's a lot of pressing, and then, of course, walking with their upper body, and then it's nonstop. This event will be very flowy, if I can say that, and it's going to be that they've got to focus on transitions from movement to movement and have no hesitation. We'll have 2 heats of tightrope. First heat getting set to take the floor. Haley Adams is a woman who's trying to get going back in the right direction after 2 great starts in the opening 2 events. She hasn't finished better than 11th, and she's got 2 19th places. Yeah, and I think that this is a particular event that allows her to shine in some things that she can do well. She can walk on her hands. She's generally, from a historical perspective, pretty good at double unders, keeping them moving. We'll see how she responds to that heavy rope. But this is a chance for her to really put a dent in that deficit that she developed through the course of the weekend and put on a bit of a show here for the audience. And there is Haley Adams, getting some last-minute instructions from her judge. Elena Simons for this first of 2 heats. 9 athletes on the floor, as again, Gabby McGowan has withdrawn due to an injury. Sydney Wells will be in lane number 8. She's had a solid competition so far. She comes in 15th place overall, and 2 of her last 3 finishes have been 8th or better. Yeah, I think she's got some solid momentum. We know that historically Brooke tends to do well on her hands upside down, so we'll see if it runs in the family. Heat 1 is underway. We start with 100 heavy rope double unders. Every 25, they'll get credited with 1 rep. Not to be ignored, all the running and jumping these ladies have had to withstand the last few days. We started off with just a nonchalant 4K worth of running on day 1, with 2,000 of those meters being weighted, also dragging some heavy bags, the up and overs last night. Emma McQuaid is the first woman through her first set of 25. If you've never used a heavy rope to do double unders, what's the difference between just your normal jump rope that you pull out of your gym bag? You know, one of the big things is that, well, everyone's got their favorite rope. And what I mean by that is if you've done double unders, if you're learning to master them, you know that it's really important to have your own special rope, as we see Spiegel already making her way to that dumbbell. And just because they hand you a new rope in itself can throw you off, but then keep in mind, this thing's heavy. It spins a little slower. Your grip is taxed even more, and of course it really tends to blow up the shoulders. Danny Spiegel off on her overhead walking lunge. They'll get 1 rep per section. And I was just going to say, although Spiegel making this dumbbell look quite easy, Sean, this is 70 pounds.
that same load that they were doing yesterday for the single arm devil press. It's really important for the athletes to keep that thing directly over their shoulder, directly over their hips. Otherwise, it's going to start going towards the ground.
Across the line as she puts the sear bell down.
You'll see the extra focus here by Emily Rolfe, really focused on pressing up on that dumbbell as she lunges down. It's really like doing two opposing things at once. Focusing on getting that back leg to touch the ground and still keeping the tension on that sear bell.
Well, Danny Spiegel is finishing up her first handstand walk. So each section needs to be completed unbroken. And once she gets over the line, she can turn around and head back. 100 total feet here, 50 down and 50 back.
And Emily Rolfe.
So Danny got called back. And there's some question on the distance here. So she thought she was done.
That's right.
Spiegel still holding on to her first place position.
So the standard seems to be that, Sean, in the latter part of each transition, they do have to spin on their hands across the red line, then make it back to that white mark, and then they get to handstand back the rest of the way.
Second round of heavy double unders.
Just passing the 3-minute mark through the first round. 17
So athletes not only demanded to walk in straight lines on their hand, but also make that 180 turn at the end of the turf there.
Back to the double unders now to start round two. Danny Spiegel and Emily Rolfe, and they were towards the front in the last event, and Sydney Wells was there also.
This is where composure matters. Again, a lot like that pegboard earlier, this involves a tremendous amount of coordination and accuracy. Yeah, they're jumping off the ground. There's that bounding aspect. Their heart rate's high. They're breathing hard. But if the timing's not right with the rope, you're going to fail reps. Failing double unders when you specifically feel like they should be feeling good makes you want to chuck your rope to the end of the darn competition floor, Sean.
I think a jump rope is probably the most hurled piece of equipment in CrossFit gyms around the world. At the 15 rep mark, these women should be done with their second set of 100. Emily Rolfe in the middle in the long red pants. She comes in 11th place overall. She's only 10 points back at Danielle Brandon for 10th. Danny Spiegel, meanwhile, is in 12th place. She has 330 points. She's only 10 points back of Danielle Brandon for a spot inside the top 10. But Danny Spiegel now off on her second walking lunge. Every 25-foot section she completes, she'll get 1 rep. So 2 total reps here on the overhead walking lunge. But the 17 rep mark is when Spiegel will proceed to the 50-foot handstand walk. Rolfe and Wells currently sitting second and third, with Amanda Barnhart in 4th.
Battle for second.
And this is where we talked about non-stop, Sean. It's very tempting when you're traveling a lot of distance in a workout like this to have your rest. Set your dumbbell down, have your rest, shake your arms out, and you want to remain as urgent as you can there. One, because Danny Spiegel's in a position where she could find herself making her way to the top end, or a top 10 for the final workout of the day, which could be huge, but also because of the 10 women that are waiting and just watching and understanding what the time to beat will be.
70 pounds on that dumbbell, 32 kilos, and Spiegel is onto her handstand walk. So it's red line to red line, then red line to white. And each section needs to be completed unbroken.
And this will be the one where she's looking to make that half pirouette turn. She's gonna have to turn as she passes the red tape, make it back to that first red white line. Then she can rest if she decides to. She chooses to keep it rolling.
Danny Spiegel on her second of 3 100-foot handstand walks. After this, she's going back to the rope for another 100 double unders. It's been a good day 3 for Danny Spiegel so far.
That's right.
Spiegel's done, back to the rope for the final time. Here comes Emily Rolfe, who's now behind Sydney Wells. Wells is on the left side of your screen. She just kicked down from the handstand walk, and she's got to get to that final white line. Does Sydney Wells. Wells in the long black pants and the white shoes, kicking down, and she'll join Spiegel on the jump rope. 17-minute time gap in this event.
Just inching ahead of Emily Rolfe.
Rolfe was towards the front in that last event in the opening heat, and then fell way off the pace when she got back to the pegboard, I think for the 3rd time. So in the top 4 now is Taylor Howe on the right side of your screen, has picked up her jump rope for the final time.
And this is where that overall body fatigue becomes an issue, Sean. You saw Sydney Wells and Danny Spiegel in the universal rest position with their knees on their elbow, or the elbows on their knees there, trying to take some reprieve off the load of breathing. You bend over in that position. Coaches used to vilify that position. Hey, don't do that. You're showing laziness, you're showing weakness. Well, look, we understand that throughout the years, this is actually the most advantageous position to recover in, aside from taking a knee or sitting down. And it allows them to get right back to work and, of course, maintain their composure.
Now the 26 rep mark is when Danny Spiegel will be done. Again, they get 1 rep for every 25 double unders completed on the scoreboard on the left side.
You see some wise choices by these women too. They understand that they could push and try to get more and more reps in big sets, but this allows them to remain composed, execute clean reps, and not get frustrated like we talked about chucking that rope by missing reps.
Spiegel's done, back to the dumbbell, the 70-pound dumbbell for the final time for her 50-foot overhead one-armed walking lunge with that sear bell. Now Sydney Wells will join Danny Spiegel on the dumbbell. Spiegel's done with her first 25-foot section, and she'll switch hands and work her way back.
Approaching the 9-minute marker.
Will we see something crazy from Sydney here? She knows she's closing the gap on Danny. Will she try to switch hands right away and get on her heels with the lunge? That's what you got to be thinking as a competitor to close the gap when you know points matter. Okay, she's going to set it down, needs the rest, not worth the risk.
Portion of her walking lunge. Just a few more lunges away.
Now Danny Spiegel has one final 100-foot handstand walk between her and another heat win here. Emily Rolfe getting to work on her overhead walking lunges.
Daniel looking to finish heat number 1 in first.
Now Sydney Wells is done, and she'll get to work on her 100-foot handstand walk. She's on the right side of your screen.
Here comes Sydney Wells.
We'll see if she stays on her hands here, maybe catching up with, with Spiegel, and now she's starting to put a little pressure on Danny Spiegel. Spiegel makes the turn, and she decides to stay on her hands. Wells makes the turn.
Wow.
Spiegel is continuing to move. She's not taking a break. Remember, we got to sprint to the finish here. Spiegel looks to be comfortably ahead of Wells. Wells unable to close the gap, and Danny Spiegel, for the second straight time, is going to take the opening heat. 10:23.29 seconds, and here comes Sydney Wells to join her at the finish. 10:30.67 for Sydney Wells. These Amanda Barnhart and Emily Rolfe now fighting for 3rd place, and they are neck and neck on this final handstand walk. Right next to each other, left side of your screen.
Barnhart with a slight advantage on the turn.
Great turn there. These partial pirouettes not really presenting a problem for anyone in this heat that we've seen so far. Again, handstand walking in our sport has come so far. There was a time where just walking 30 feet unbroken was a challenge for many. Then it was 50 feet. Then we started walking over objects, and now they can just spin on their hands at will, even on the final day of a grueling competition with such upper body demands.
Barnhart's done. She's going to take 3rd. Emily Rolfe is close to finishing up. And I remember back at the 2011 CrossFit Games watching Rich Froning go half a football field, and that blew everybody's mind. And it wasn't, I'm not sure if it was unbroken or not. You could come down as many times as you could. Now Taylor Howe is in. Now 5 minutes to go before we hit the time cap. And 4 women are still on the field. Taylor Williamson, she's your leader out there, along with Haley Adams.
Looked like Taylor Williamson got caught with a no rep, maybe unaware of where she was allowed to kick down. I think that she came down just shy of the line and thought she had cleared it. She even started the next portion of handstand walking. There she goes.
Taylor Williamson is one of the women who made it here through the online qualifier. She's 18th place overall.
Ladies and gentlemen, Haley Adams.
Has 2 finishes inside the top 10. And here comes Haley Adams.
I think the double unders and the sear bell gave Haley a little bit more trouble than I had imagined. Clearly handstand walking, something that she excels at. So it had to be the other two.
And Haley Adams is across the finish. .13:02.21 seconds for Adams.
Taylor Williamson. A lot of these women too, Sean, you'll see body posture wise looking up a little bit out in the distance of where their hands make contact. You want to try to pull your chin down towards your chest a little bit more. This reduces the buildup of fatigue in the traps, helps you go a little further, a little faster.
And Williamson is done.
Easier said than done, but that'll be something we see a lot of the women come and do in the next heat that are handstand walking faster.
Emma McQuaid and Dana Perrin, the last 2 women out on the field. Perrin at the bottom of your screen now onto her overhead walking lunges. McQuaid is on her final handstand walk.
3 minutes remaining.
Dana still has time to finish this. If she gets moving on these overhead walking lunges, she's got to keep that urgency, have no slip-ups here. I can't speak again how light all these women made that dumbbell look, but 70 pounds over your head while you're walking forward in a lunge is not as easy as they make it look. It's a tremendous test to their midline stability, which means like how well they can brace around their spine, especially after all those GHDs and ski calories that they just accomplished this morning.
Moran is just about done with his final overhead walking lunge. And again, that's 70 pounds, 32 kilos on that sear bell. McQuaid in her 3rd appearance at the Rogue Invitational. Her best finish came back in 2021 when she took 9th. And now she is done. Now 2 minutes to go for Dana Perrin to get across the finish line inside the 17-minute time cap.
Trying to get the work done under the cap. It's all very quiet out here.
Come on, Aberdeen, let's make some noise. It's the last day of competition for our athletes.
90 seconds to go for Perrin.
Yeah, good choice there. This is going to be the test for her. She's got to execute that 180-degree turn after that red line here.
On the cap. She can do it.
We'd want to see Dana again work on more of a stacked position, head down just a touch if she can. Will create less strain on her body overall as she walks. Hey, come on, make some noise for her. She's like, hey, I want to finish this thing, but I need your help.
1 minute, let's keep that going.
Well, Perrin's got enough time here if she can keep this pace.
She is having a great time smiling now.
Good choice there.
All right.
1 section left. 45 seconds to go. She just got hit with a no rep because she didn't start behind the line.
Yeah, she was getting close. A couple on her last couple walks too, Sean, I could tell. The judge was starting to look real close, but she got it done. Come on.
And Perez across. And all 9 women in Heat 1 get in inside the time cap. Danny Spiegel, for the second straight event, wins her heat. 10:23.29 seconds. Nice job by our red hat. Jeff Williams there doing yeoman's work, helping the fans out.
I thought maybe Jeff was getting an autograph for himself with that plate.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Hey, I'll tell you what, we talk about momentum being a really viable thing in our space and in our sport. Athletes come in and understand they can feed off the previous day's momentum, and Danny Spiegel certainly doing that today, executing with a heat win to start the day, and also upside down. She shows she's got the capacity to move fast and spin that rope quickly. It was all Spiegel here in Heat 1.
Danny Spiegel is having a solid day, number 2, wins her heat for the second straight time, puts up a time at 10:23.29 seconds. Sydney Wells, 7 seconds back of her, made things interesting in the back half of that event, and Amanda Barnhart rounds out the top 3. Well, 1 heat remains, and your overall leaders will be out on the floor. Tia Toomey and Laura Horvath coming up next. Floor getting reset, athletes coming out. Second and final heat of event 8, tightrope. And there is Tia Toomey, who has a stranglehold on the top spot. But hey, we're getting inverted, which means you got to watch Danielle Brandon.
You always got to watch out for her. We talk about one of the key focuses here is going to be that it's all shoulders. Danielle Brandon's got some of the highest level handstand walking that we see within our sport, and she's got the shoulder stamina to tolerate exactly what this event demands. So she could be the one to set what we've seen off kilter with Tia Claire Toomey with 4 event wins, Laura Horvath with 3. Can Danielle Brandon be the one to stand in the way and take an event win away from one of those 2 women?
Here are your lane assignments. Horvath and Toomey will be right in the middle of the floor where we are used to finding them. And Tia Toomey tied the record set by Laura Horvath a couple years ago for consecutive event wins. She's got 4 in a row to start the weekend, but Laura Horvath has been on a tear over the last 4 events, a second and 3 straight wins.
We didn't necessarily see the heavy 100 double under ropes present too much of a discrepancy between the athletes in the last heat, but we did see it force them to make breaks. A lot of times we see athletes at this elite level go 100 straight and unbroken. And in this particular event, you got to think ahead, not just where your feet are. You got to think, what is going to be demanded of me with that overhead lunge and then also with the handstand walk.
Well, Alex Gazan right now is the favorite to wind up in 3rd place overall. She has 450 points. And for more on her, let's send it down to Kiki Dixon.
Guys, when it comes to Alex Gazan, event 8, she's looking to just execute and stay consistent. With the double under, she's going to go by feel and will be doing her best to not completely blow up her shoulders. She's looking to stay consistent on the lunges and then take those breaks where she needs them on the handstand walk. She did hear that the workout was being dubbed Boulder Shoulder, so if there's any confusion on that, it's pretty clear what's about to happen. She did mention that with the announcement of event number 9, she's liking that event for her, so if she can stay consistent here, it sounds like there could be some good things in store for Alex Gazan.
Good things are going on right now for Laura Horvath and Tia Toomey. They were the first 2 women to that 70-pound sear bell. Ariel Lowen and Paige Semenza are there as well. Top of your screen is Brooke Wells. Danielle Brandon at the bottom of your screen. As long as she stays close to Horvath and Toomey, she might be able to overtake them on the handstand walk.
Yeah, and I think that's got to be the focus for Danielle. Urgency in these transitions, because Laura didn't even set her dumbbell down. She simply just switched her hands and continued to lunge.
And Toomey has now moved in front of Horvath. And she will get right to work on her handstand walk. They'll get
handstand walking, something we've seen Tia continue to have growth in throughout her career. Really changed her body position about 1.5 years ago, becoming more of that neutral gaze with her head position, chin more towards her clavicle than looking up high.
Well, Horvath is going unbroken here. She's getting a rep for every 20 feet. So at the 11 rep mark, she'll be done. So Laura Horvath back in the lead in front of Tia Toomey. Alex Kazan, meanwhile, is towards the back of the pack. So keep an eye on her. Horvath done, back to the rope to start round 2, and Toomey's finished.
Wow, Laura setting a strong precedent there with that unbroken handstand walk. I mean, that wasn't something I expected to see from her. She means business. She's ready to tie this 100-point race with 4 and 4 between her and Tia.
Brooke Wells is also on her final or second set of double unders, and Danielle Brandon has started round 2 as well. So 1 rep for every 25 double unders. But the 15 rep mark is when they'll be done. Danielle Brandon, 10th place overall with 340 points. And there is Alex Kazan, who's towards the back here. She's got 450 points, does Kazan. 4th place right now is Gabby McGowan, who had to withdraw because of an injury. Still sits in 3rd with 480 points.
Yeah, I really appreciate what Kiki was able to share in regards to Alex's mindset. We know historically she's not great on her hands. Anything completely overhead, sometimes her mobility is a bit of a limitation, so it's all about her staying in her own lane for this one.
Laura Horvath is off for the second time on her overhead walking lunge. 25 feet with one arm, then 25 feet with the other. They start on the right arm. And here comes Tia Toomey. Now Horvath, even though she's beating Toomey, and we talked about this earlier, she's got to get help from other people. She trails by 50 points, and there's only 5 points difference between each placement in the results.
That's right, yeah. I mean, essentially, we could watch Laura win the rest of events, but if Tia just continues to slide right in there, right behind her, it won't make a difference for the overall leaderboard. I mean, it'll be exciting to see nonetheless, but that's the idea. She's got to hope for Tia to slip up, and that's unfortunately what happens when you're chasing greatness, is that you got to hope for that athlete that is most well-rounded to have something that's going to falter them significantly on the leaderboard, and Tia just doesn't let that happen.
Off on her handstand walk. We'll see if she tries to go unbroken again. She completed the first one without coming off of her hands. Tia Toomey now is on her way down, so a quick break for Horvath. Makes the turn and heads back.
And a little bit more turning from side to side there for Laura, using her whole body momentum to actually pivot herself instead of just use her arms.
Well, Horvath is now done. And on to the double unders for the 3rd and final time. Toomey still solidly in 2nd place.
Her chances.
Laura so focused, so calm, shoulders relaxed, elbows close to her body. All these things are really key contributors to having success with double unders, but specifically weighted double unders.
Manana Enganez is still on her 2nd round of 100 double unders. This is crucial for her because she's 5th place overall with 425 points, trying to hold off Ariel Lowen, who's 15 back. So Lowen is ahead now of both Kazan and Enganez as she looks to put herself in the mix for that final spot on the podium. Time to beat, bottom left-hand part of your screen, belongs to Danny Spiegel out of heat number 1. Horvath and Toomey are on their 3rd and final sets of 100 double unders. At the 26 rep mark is when Horvath will be done. There is Alex Kazan, who's wrapping up her 2nd overhead walking lunge. Horvath done. Wow. And right to the sear bell. And now 25 feet with that 70-pound, 32-kilo dumbbell held over her head.
Shipping away with her final set of 40 double unders. Laura Horvath in the driver's
Toomey's still in 2nd place. Again, as long as this stands, Horvath is only going to pick up another 5 points.
So focused, though, from Laura. You love it. Tia's nowhere even in a threatening position, and yet with the same urgency, she picks up that sear bell and gets right back to work.
25 to go now for Tia Toomey on the rope as Horvath is just about done with that walking lunge. So Toomey will get to work on the dumbbell. Horvath done, and she starts her 3rd and final handstand walk.
These two, again, are just making a great example and putting on a clear show for their separation versus the rest of the field. If you hadn't picked up on it so far, with 4 event wins for Tia, 3 event wins for Laura, which looks like soon to be number 4. The dominance that these two continue to exhibit is just out of this world.
And she would tie the record that she set for consecutive event wins with this event win. And she has more than 2 minutes to finish this and get across the finish line to beat Dani Spiegel. One last section for Laura Horvath, looking at her 4th consecutive event win.
On your feet, Aberdeen. What about it?
Laura Horvath continues to charge, make it 4.
My, oh my. Certainly better at handstand walking than she is with handstand push-ups, but certainly put us on notice there. She's going to continue to have that urgency. She's fighting for that number 1 spot.
Tia Toomey looking to finish up in 2nd place for the 2nd consecutive event. And again, only surrender 5 points to Laura Horvath. The lead will now be 45 heading into the final event.
Brooke Wells not far behind Tia there, Sean, to the right on your screen.
Brooke Wells is starting to creep up.
Those are the kind of athletes that Laura needs to step up in order to create some more of a gap between her and Tia.
Well, Tia Toomey takes 2nd, another 95 points. And out of the 8 events that we have now faced as Brooke Wells moves across the finish line, Tia Toomey has only finished lower than 2nd once. And that was an 8th. Danielle Brandon is in. Danielle Brandon, that'll be good enough for 4th place in the event. She's had 2 out of her last 3 events inside the top 4. Well, Ariel Lowen, who is looking to put herself in the mix and in a really good position heading into the final event to wind up on the podium, because she is ahead of both Alex Gazan and Emma Tall and Manon Anganese.
Ariel with a very neutral head position. She doesn't look up until she needs to, almost looking directly behind her. With confidence, she'll remain straight. That really does minimize the wear and tear on the upper body, especially the upper neck and traps. Finally finishing for her.
Now Lowen is now done. She did not beat Dani Spiegel's time, but a top 5 finish in this heat is Alex Gazan is on her final handstand walk. She's got to make the turn under Zeus and then head back.
You'll notice Alex chooses to take smaller steps while she's upside down, trying to conserve the demand on her upper body. The downside is it does increase some time under tension for her.
There's Emma Tall, who came in 7th place overall with 400 points. She was 50 back at Gazan for 4th place.
To complete.
Ariel Lowen trailed Gazan by 40.
Can Gazan stay on her hands? Nope.
Tall gets across that final line, and she will proceed to the finish. Paige Semenza comes across as well.
There goes Alex. Alex, both hands across, and Alex Gazan.
Now Gazan is in.
As she finishes in around the 12-minute marker.
Maddie Surt closing things out. That leaves Manon Anganese is the only athlete left on the floor, and she's on her final overhead walking lunge. Now, Anganese was the woman directly behind Gazan in the overall standings coming in. 5th place with 425 points. She's going to fall down the overall standings, and things between Gazan and Lowen are going to get a lot tighter heading into event 9.
With that sear bell up and overhead.
You see that little bit of that wobble there, Sean, her trying to stabilize that sear bell. That is, again, not an easy task after what's been demanded of these women all day long and throughout the weekend.
She has a little less than 4 minutes now to complete this handstand walk.
To finish this event.
Yeah, you appreciate that communication from the judge there. That's often easy to be aware of, especially as fatigue builds. It's kind of easy to block some things out, especially upside down. It's almost like you begin to wear headphones out there.
This is going to be Anganese's worst finish of the competition, but she only has 3 finishes that are 9th or below 9th place. Everything else has been 9th or better. This has been a really good showing for her.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that's one thing that we've been looking for from Manon throughout the years is that consistency. I mean, we've mentioned it for a few athletes, but that's often what allows them to break the cusp of where they've had plateaus or sticking points within a field of other competitors. Everyone has a chance to shine. They've all got some home run opportunities, but it's those athletes who can learn to be consistent, balance the ups and downs, that start to have breakthroughs year after year, and we start to see them on new pedestals.
This is her 3rd appearance at the Rogue Invitational. The prior 2 times she was here, she finished 11th and 10th. And she's on track to be really close to that here this year.
This is it then, one more.
Keep that applause going, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last event.
It's interesting, too, knowing what's looming. I'm sure Manon is quite excited about moving some heavy loads in the form of a sandbag later.
She's done, so all 10 women in Heat 2 make it inside the time cap. Laura Horvath picks up her 4th straight win. 8 events, we've had 2 winners, Toomey and Horvath. So the rubber match is coming up in the best of 9. Is going to go to a 9th and decisive event between Horvath and Toomey. 8:28.45 seconds for Laura Horvath.
Was it scripted? Did Tia just say, okay, now Laura, your turn? Because that's almost what it's like. And it was literally like this event was scripted for Laura Horvath. Hardly breaking, hardly pausing, unbroken on the double unders, quick transitions on the overhead walking lunges. It was as if she knew what Tia might assume she would do, and she did the opposite. Tia taking a casual break there, as most athletes did each and every round. But Laura choosing to go unbroken on those handstand walks early allowed her to have the advantage, and she never relented and never faltered. Laura Horvath, that's 4 in a row.
She is with Kiki Dixon for an interview after we check out these results. 8:28.45 seconds. And Tia Toomey did not need to do anything better than that, because that's still worth a 2nd place finish at 95 points. And Brooke Wells takes 3rd, followed by Danielle Brandon. And once again, Laura Horvath gets to speak with Kiki Dixon.
Laura, congratulations on your 4th event win in a row here at the Rogue Invitational.
Thank you.
You are clearly one of the fittest individuals in the world, but there's a lot more that goes into a competition weekend than just fitness. There's also the mental aspect. What are you doing to manage the tenacity and drive throughout the weekend?
Well, you know, historically Sunday is my favorite day, so I couldn't let you guys keep hanging, so I needed to bring my A game for this day. And all I do is eat a lot and sleep a lot during the week, during these hard days, so that's paying off.
This event was dubbed Boulder Shoulder, I think, by a few people. How did you mitigate the fatigue in the shoulders?
Well, you know, it was 3 rounds, and you just have to have confidence in yourself that your shoulders are going to hold on for those 3 rounds, so I just played my game.
Event number 9 has been released. What are your thoughts on that upcoming event?
Bring it on, baby. I love a heavy sandbag.
We look forward to get you after it. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, guys. You're awesome. Thanks.
Laura Horvath her 11th career event win, her 4th in a row here.
Hey, man, she's given some good new Rogue T-shirt ideas, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
You know, bring it on, baby.
Laura Horvath, for the 4th straight time, picks up the event win, but only gains 5 points on Tia Toomey, who will continue to hang on to the top spot in the overall standings. But it's going to be fun to see who can take the decisive 9th event in the Horvath versus Toomey series here. The women are done. Men coming up next now in event number 8.